you can't define non-duality, and that impossibility invites endless definitions. You say whatever you want, basically, or do whatever you want, or do nothing, or any response to the question of what is non-duality is a valid response. You can't define non-duality in the same way you define tungsten, what makes up your light bulb element. The definition of tungsten is it's a chemical element of atomic number 74, a hard steel gray metal. It is used to make electric light filaments and has a very high melting point, 3,410 degrees Celsius. What is the melting point of non-duality? What's the melting point of reality? I don't think you can give a hard, testable definition of non-duality or reality or love, for that matter. What's the melting point of love? So all the talk about non-duality is a failed attempt to violate non-separation. Either that, or all the talk about non-duality is it's a celebration of non-separation. The transformation from violation to celebration, or the transformation from confusion to wonder, or from annoyance to charm, or from avoidance to indulgence, silly indulgence. This is the transformation from separate to non-separate living. Some call that awakening, that transformation from confusion to wonder. And it becomes the life of coming from non-duality, if you want to call it that. And these kind of transformations from confusion to wonder, from trying to violate non-separation to celebrating non-separation, you see these in your life. They apply to anyone or anything or anything that you love. So it could apply to your pet. This is why they say pet a cat and your blood pressure goes down, because somehow you've gone from, you've transformed your life of anxiety and confusion to a life of wonder and peace. Temporarily, in the moment. That transformation occurs in these small ways with anything or anyone you love. You can go to your club, your church, and suddenly your confusion transforms to wonder. Anything to which you bow, whatever it is that you bow, that you love. And then in the life, then so-called a grand awakening, big awakening, or enlightenment, then you're bowing to everything. You're bowing to every atom. And it's not, by then, the you is gone, and it's every atom bowing to every atom. It's true non-separation. That's the life of non-separation, but everyone can taste it. You can taste it whenever your lack of peace, your anxiety, your confusion, your distress, whenever it changes, whenever it transforms to peace and happiness and wonder, that's it. That's the taste of a real and the big awakening. So everyone experiences the small awakenings. Problem is, people don't really value it that much. It's just a temporary thing. It's just an interruption in their normal life of stress and taking sides and valuing separation. But it's there. If someone wants to value it and think about it all the time, until they have some understanding. So so defining non-duality, it is you have to be sure that it's not an attempt to violate non-separation, but a celebration of non-separation. separation. Now, let's talk about some definitions. I'm not going to really get into literal definitions of non-duality today, but I will say that a literal definition of non-duality is not two. That's simply what it means. And I need to mention that non-duality then has nothing to do with oneness. We talk about oneness, and the word oneness is used interchangeably with non-duality. That's how the language has developed. But a definition of oneness from the dictionary is the fact or state of being unified or whole, though comprised of two or more parts. Now, so oneness is comprised of two or more parts, ideas, concepts, things, whatever you want to say. Two parts, two or more parts. Now, we've already said non-duality literally means not two. So if oneness means a unification of two or more parts, and non-duality means there are not two parts, and non-duality really has nothing to do with oneness. But they are conflated, so we accept that. It's okay. And even the teachings of oneness, which are not non-duality, are included in the big umbrella of non-duality. So things like mystical experiences and any experience or feeling that makes you feel one with the universe or whatever. We call that non-duality. But we also question, who is it that is having this experience? And so we try to push it towards the non-dual by asking who's, by inviting a self-inquiry. So you can say that non-duality is not two, but it's also not one. It's not oneness. Really, what does that leave? I mean, it's going to leave you with a silence, it's going to leave you, or with endless talking, because the inability to express invites endless expression, really. Or you can say that what you have is both silence and endless expression, or neither, or the absence of neither silence nor expression, however you wish to see it. So, before you really get into defining non-duality, and we just did a literal one by calling it not two, there's almost a pre-definition, right? Like what we're doing now is like a pre-definition. You have to talk about what it is to define non-duality. And you really need to look at the person defining it. You need to look at yourself and look at what you're doing and why you're doing it. So in defining non-duality, we have a pre-definition, which I've already gotten into a little. Then you have definitions, and some are literal. Some definitions can be called non-definitions. Some are anti-definitions. Some I would call undefinitions. And then there's even post-definition as well. So today we did some pre-definition. And next I'll give some definitions of non-duality. Meanwhile, you can go to nonduality.com and click on the link, and it gives like 100 or more definitions of non-duality if you want to see that. So that's it for today. Subscribe.